So thank you for coming. Let's take a nice deep breath. Let it go. Feeling our hearts, feeling our feet, feeling our heads, bringing them all together into a beautiful space, beautiful, warm, soft, cozy center of being that we call our hearts. Allowing ourselves to float within a column of light that's pouring down golden light energy from above, from Father Sky, all the way down through us, through a column of light. And it reaches all the way down, touching our hearts and then diving deep into the very core of Mother Earth. And Mother Earth receives that beautiful gift, that kiss from heaven. And she opens up her heart and smiles and blesses us all, sending her gratitude that we remember her each time we gather together, sending it up into the very center of our hearts, into a beautiful chalice, a beautiful space that receives everything. And then that kiss returns up to heaven, up to source, that divine spark that each one of us is. And this movement continues up and down, up and down, and in and out. Everything softens. Everything relaxes. The whole world rushes by, and we're oblivious to any stress. No fear, no worry. Just that peace that passeth understanding. In that space of stillness, in the very center of our hearts. For the foundation of our connection through these threads of the heart that weave together now as we place our right hand on our heart and our left hand on our right. These threads we share with all of life, with all humans, with all creatures. And we now invite each heart to join us in this beautiful fabric, this amazing tapestry that is made up of so many different colors and shapes and sizes, so many cultures and beliefs, so many different perspectives, all weave together, weaving the threads of their hearts into this magical tapestry. So many colors, ages, so many thoughts and ideas and feelings, all creating this expansion that fills the whole world with love, with peace, with that amazing experience of stillness. The energy of the heart is the energy of stillness, of fullness, of pure being, pure essence. And as we sit in this space, resting our hands, we allow everything that has ever bothered us to pour into that chalice in the very center of our hearts. For anything that has entered our consciousness that bothers or worries us is tinged with fear. And this chalice has a way of taking that fear and dissolving it into that pure gold, so it cannot harm, so it cannot stick. So we see it through the clarity of the heart's vision. We see it through an understanding that passeth all other kinds of knowings. It is, in fact, the truth of knowing that is beyond the mind, that reminds us that everything that the mind grasps and holds onto is part of the illusion. For the only true reality is love. Unconditional acceptance of the reality of everything that is. Total allowance, total recognition that we are each one the same in essence, in our makeup as a reflection and as an expression of God's love. And by God, we do not refer to anything else than all that is. The great mystery, that which is beyond understanding, beyond the mind, and yet gave rise to the 10,000 things, like the Tao. For there is a space within that chalice where the no thing dwells, where the infinite potentiality rests, waiting for a perfect moment to manifest, to create, to establish. And held within that space is the knowing that we are here not to suffer, not to worry, but to bring forth a new world, a new reality based upon love and our connection to all of life and all of life's connection to us. For when we say we are all one, that we are all connected, the mind has an idea of what that is, but the feeling can only be felt within the heart, within that space of knowing, somehow knowing that we are here for a purpose, that we have come at this time, that this is the mighty conglomeration of all times, of all space. It is like the million angels are all on the tip of the pin, because they exist, as do we, in a quantum reality that blows the mind when it tries to understand. Because everything is really simple. And if it's not simple, perhaps it's not so relevant. For what is simple is that we are expressions of God's love. Whether you be in a third dimensional reality or 100-dimensional reality, there is nothing but God's love. There is acceptance. There is union. There is order and structure. And there is that openness, that infinite potentiality that emerges from God's love as creation. Each one of us has emerged from the heart of God as a thought, as a projection, as an evolving space of expansion of light that in many ways is the way in which love manifests in all worlds, riding on those waves of light, reaching into the furthest extensions and expansions of consciousness and of galaxies, infinite, immortal, eternal, and universal. The four pillars. When the old sage gave instructions to the young boy, the emperor to be, to enter into the forest for his training, he was taught to drink the water of the fountain at the entrance to the forest, and to say these words. Perhaps you will say them with us, quietly or aloud. I am immortal. I am eternal. I am infinite, and I am universal. And then we drink the living water that we are. And as he did so, the fog that shrouded the forest began to lift and open up a pathway. And the boy trusted each step as he moved forward, and the fog parted in front of him. And as he took his steps, the fog returned behind him. So each step he took with complete trust, because he knew he was a spiritual warrior. He was training to become the emperor of all China. He was training to be a leader, an example, to be the one that everyone would look to know that their emperor was fully grounded in his presence and knew what was right for the entire empire. And so he stepped forward all the way until he came to a clearing in the forest. There before him was the old sage. And behind the old sage, there stretched the beautiful lake of Li. The young boy stepped up to the emperor and bowed low. "Welcome," said the emperor. "Welcome," said the old sage. "I have heard many stories of you, old sage. My father spoke of you with great fondness with great admiration and a little awe. And he told me that his father too had been to this place, and before him also his father. "You're most welcome," said the old sage. "Let us begin." And the old sage grabbed the young man and threw him into the lake. Shivering, somewhat annoyed, the little boy crawled his way back to the shore. "Why did you do that?" he said. "Oh, I just did," said the old sage. "You will understand how much it is important to accept in the moment, wherever you are. A little cold water is very good for waking up." "Ah," said the little boy, "I guess you woke me up." There developed a great fondness between the old sage and the boy. And so the old sage took the boy to an enclosure and he said, "This is where we will sleep." And there was nothing there. No pads, no blankets, no pillows, no silk sheets, no golden vessels to drink from. But, "This is where we shall sleep," said the old sage. The little boy did not argue. "But before we sleep," said the old sage, "I have prepared some food for us to sup, as the sun is now setting and it will soon be dark. Let us eat." And there, arrayed before them, were roots and leaves and strange looking things that grew in the forest. "What is this?" asked the boy. "This is the wealth of the forest, the great gift of Mother Nature. She provides us with everything, however strange it may seem. Eat and you will find there is great delight in the flavors. There is great benefit in the nourishment that comes from these things. And in the morning we will begin with our lessons. But we only have 1 year in which to train you, because your father will not be here much longer. It will be necessary for you to absorb all of the teachings, all of the understandings, and all of the knowledge, so that you can lead your people through the heart." So too, it is time for that cold water upon the face, for each one upon the planet at this time that has lost contact with simplicity, with what we might call humility, and with the ability to allow everything that is before them and in their lives to be okay, just the way it is. For as we struggle to achieve, as we move towards what we regard as success, as we communicate with all of our devices and rush about and worry about the imprinted ways in which we are expected to behave, how we are expected to slave for some green thing that is going to help you to have a roof over your head and food and gasoline to be able to survive in a structure of living that has lost its heart and that has lost the sense of community, that sense of village, of connection, of stories, of campfires, of elders and younger ones, all living and working together in harmony for the good of the whole. Each one runs after this and after that. A new toy, a faster laptop, more bandwidth, more speed, more danger. The mind runs rampant. The heart has been overthrown and is hungry to be brought back into the center, into the balance, where nothing bothers, where nothing matters, and where everything matters. For it is important to understand that even within the simplicity, there is a space where one can live in the center of that which you call paradox, where you can be two things at the same time, where you can be cold and hot and in the middle, where you can have that balance within duality of an ascendancy that rises above the opposites and allows a harmonious balancing. Perhaps you would think of it as the sacred union, the divine marriage between the opposites. And so it is necessary to find that place between the mind, the head, and the heart and the body, the outside and the inside, to be able to have one foot in one world and another foot in the other, and yourself, your energy, your essence, your wisdom, your intuition in the very center, balanced in stillness. We have called you spiritual warriors, and this has been our theme for a long time now, because the energy, as we have discussed in the previous session in answering a question about stillness and meditation, the energy of stillness in the center is a requisite to being able to move in harmony in the moment without thinking, without willing, except from the heart. Because when the warrior is faced, after all of his training, when he is finally faced with that deadly combat that could be his last, that duel with the great enemy, whether it be the enemy inside or the enemy outside. One false move, and that is it. And so the spiritual warrior, as just as the samurai warrior, or whichever martial artist type warrior there is, must be able to move in an instant as a reflex, as a response to the parry of his enemy, without thinking, what shall I do? What note shall I play? You do not think in the middle of performance of a grand concert when you are sitting at the piano. You do not think what note you are going to play next. You have trained your fingers to respond, and they know what to do. So too you draw your sword and you strike in exactly the perfect way in order to survive. And you are facing the greatest combat of your lives. You are facing an enemy that is invisible, that has the ability to control how you think, how you feel, how you see, how you believe, and how you relate to each other and to the other. There has been a movement to control that has been ongoing for thousands of years, many, many thousands of years. There has been a gradual eroding of your ability to think for yourself, to respond from your heart, to love, to cherish and honor, and to listen for the essence of your ability to create a new world, a new earth, requires of you to move outside of the space of fear, outside of the conditioned responses, and outside of your unthinking ability to accept everything that you are told. For you were trained from very small age to sit still and pay attention and listen, to study and learn by rote all of the guidelines and rules of what is expected of you and what is not okay. And most people in this world operate from a level as robots, operate from their guidelines, from their orders and their commands. And it becomes unfortunate that so much harm, we don't like to use the word evil, but so much terror and harm, so much violence, so much suffering has become the result of blindly following orders and being able to allow yourselves to be indoctrinated and to be impressioned as to what is the reality that does not resonate with the heart and with the benefit for all of life. And so it is important to not listen to the chatter and absorb and accept the stories, the narratives that are fed to you around you when you look at your media, when you read your newspapers. For everything has been engineered, everything has been orchestrated to bring you messages of fear and separation. And it requires that strength, that power of the spiritual warrior to stand in your truth, to find out, to go into your heart and to ask, what is my truth? What is going on here? Why does it seem as if there is a grand illusion going on and there's something strange underneath that I cannot quite figure out? Because indeed, you are living within a fabrication, within a fabricated world. And that world is more and more being guided by the kinds of intelligences that have no heart, that have no emotion, and that are in fact artificial, that are growing stronger, and that are being organized by the energies of control and domination for the benefit of an extremely small few who are actually scared because they are losing their power, because they are seeing an expansion of light upon this planet that frightens them, for they are afraid of the light. They hide in the darkness. They hide in their tunnels and in their spaces of safety, thinking that they will be the only ones to survive and they will be able to take control of all of life on this planet and turn them into slaves for their own power, for their own benefit, for their own greed. That kind of energy that is devoid of heart, of feeling, of any sense of joy, of any sense of bliss, of any sense of connectedness to the divine, is not viable and cannot sustain itself and cannot allow even the smallest amount of light to penetrate through that facade and that darkness. And so the shadows is where they go to hide from the light. And as more of you are awakening to greater amounts of light, as you are calling in light and sending it out, even into the darkness, into those places of suffering, of hardship, all the places of the illusion. So you are changing the vibration of this planet. You are allowing the planet and many of the human beings that are awakening up to a higher level of consciousness. You are allowing everything to raise in vibration, to become the new earth. And so it is important to embody as much light as you possibly can, to love as much as you can, to touch, to hug, to be gentle, to be vulnerable, to be warm and fuzzy, you might say. It is time for you to not hold back from showing affection, from communicating with others. For each one who hides in fear is in desperate need of that light, of that moment of comfort, of that smile, of that reassurance that all is only a passing phase, that there is a silver lining to every cloud, and that if you worry, you are projecting fear into your future and wasting your energy. You are manifesting that which you most do not want through your fear. It is much wiser to direct your energy to what you do want and what you want for all, as well as yourself. For you are so connected one with the other, but you cannot feel or see it. It does not form a reality for your mind, and therefore you dismiss it. But the energy of community, the energy of collective consciousness working in cooperation, the 3 C's, is the future. It is necessary. It is necessary to eat wholesomely, to eat healthily, to eat organic food that has not been messed with or processed, to eat simply, to drink pure water, to be in nature as much as you can, to pay attention to your connection with all of life, with the trees, with the water, the air and the soil, and the warmth of the sun, and that feeling of peace and stillness when you go into the woods or into the meadows and smell the flowers. It is vital to have a counterbalance to all this zooming around and all your time with your smartphones. For you are working with extremely dangerous technologies that are not beneficial to life. And the more you can divest yourself of them and find simple ways to make your appointments, to find out about the weather, to communicate with each other, to talk instead of text, to listen to your friends and what's going on for them. For everyone needs an ear so that they can have a reflection. Everyone needs a touch of sympathy or empathy. Everyone needs to know that when they trust, their guides and their angels will be there to help them to take that second step. Because if you take that first step towards trust, you will be assisted with all the rest of your steps. And the truth will be whispered into your quiet space of your chalice. So you must pay attention. It is important to trust and to have patience, to watch and wait when you are not clear on your next step, because you will eventually find out. And as you do this, as you focus on trusting, you will find that your life unfolds with greater ease, with more grace, and with greater abundance. You never know where your next penny or dollar or million will come from. And if you work hard and try and push and shove and stress, you cannot bring it to you. For the universe has changed its direction. It is moving in a spiral. It is moving in waves, not in a straight line. And you cannot trust that what was will be, and that the way in which you did things always will be the way in which you open up new horizons. There is a saying you are familiar with, that if you keep doing things the same way, you cannot expect to have a different outcome. And so it's important, in fact, to not have any attachment to any kind of outcome. You place in your heart your longing and your desire, and always for a higher vision, and you allow it to gestate. You give it the time to grow, like the spring coming, where the seeds will eventually shoot down roots and begin to shoot up leaves and stems. And they will break through the hardest concrete, because the power of life cannot be stopped. So remember to smell the roses, to take that moment of a breath. Remember when you are rushing somewhere, that you will get there at the perfect moment if you slow down and take that breath. That it does not matter who you think does not like you and why, because it is not your concern. And you are probably making an assumption that has no basis. So do not project or make assumptions, but be in the moment. Be comfortable in your own body. Be in your location. Wherever you are is where you are. When you need to take that movement, you will take it, just like the boy as he took his steps through the fog. Remember that the living water will help you to remember that you are immortal and eternal, that you are infinite and universal. You too will be like the little boy and the old sage who dwells within your heart. The emperor to be dwells within your mind. And together they are forming the new earth with you, so that you can sit upon the throne when the old man has gone. And you will know from the very center of your being what steps are needed to face each challenge, each imposition, each revolution. Remember that you are surrounded. We want you to experience and feel right now that we are surrounding you. We are inside of your heart and around you in a sphere of golden light to keep you safe and protected as long as you trust. And remember to take that breath. For we are always with you. We love you so much. We are guiding this new earth. Do not doubt that you will move, the whole planet will move into a new reality based on love, peace. The old ways are finished. They are dying before your face, before your eyes. They are dismantling themselves. It is possible to live each day unceasingly, with ease and with grace, with abundance, with serendipity, with magic and miracle. Trust your heart, for your heart is your compass. Perhaps you will listen to the speech presentation we gave on Saturday. That is on YouTube and on the newsletter. For it says much of what we are saying. And yet, it does not harm to repeat oneself, to remind oneself that all the old voices running around in my head have no place any longer, and I will not accept or listen to them. I will only listen to the voice of God that is within me, for I am an expression of God, of the all that is, of the great mystery. And everything that relates to the divinity is perfect, just the way it is. So we will leave you on that note. We will take a moment to take a pause, to take a break.